Alright everyone, welcome back to another video. Last time we left off with the farmers' protest, talking about a lot of the things that went on in a lot of the prairie settlements, and a little bit how farmers would kind of deal with some of these issues that they had, so railroads or things like that, and how they would actually almost want more government protection, and a few other things. But we're now on to the election of 1896. Certain presidential elections are landmarks. Such were 1800, which brought Jefferson to power, 1828, which did the same for Jackson, and 1860, which brought on a civil war. Among these, we must add 1896. The Republicans had little internal difficulty. With the expert aid of his friend Mark Hanna, the Ohio protectionist, Congressman William McKinley was nominated with the only token opposition, the Democratic Party, had been snatched from the conservative Grover Cleveland, and the convention was swayed by the oratory of William Jennings Bryan, uh, a young congressman from Nebraska. In a debate on the currency issue, Bryan had thundered, "You shall not press down upon the brow of labor this crown of thorns. You shall not crucify mankind upon a cross of gold." The speech secured his nomination. William McKinley would have preferred a fight on the familiar ground of tariff protection, but the currency issue captured everybody's attention. The Democratic and populist cry of bimetallism at a ratio of 16 to 1 really meant a silver standard. Since the actual value of gold was then over 30 to 1, and debtors found it more convenient to pay in silver, the depressed metal. The Republicans were forced to champion the gold standard. This caused secession in both parties. A few Republicans from the West supported Bryan, whereas the Gold Democrats attempted to form a new third party. The Populists joined Bryan. The very hot campaign which followed was one of the haves against the have-nots. The Democrats swept the South and the Trans-Mississippi West, and the Republicans won with the East and Middle West. Mark Hanna campaigned on the issue of prosperity. Not only the business community, but also many of the farmers and working men in eastern states feared Bryan's radicalism and hoped that the Republican victory would mean better times. Let's see. Okay, no, that's just a little bit of that. Yeah, obviously we've been off the gold standard for a while now, but obviously there was a lot of debates with it for a long time. The gold standard, while it was nice in some regards, it does have its own issue of what happens when you have not. For instance, you could get super, super poor. Not to say people aren't poor today. I guess it really doesn't matter, huh? But a lot of people thought, oh, okay, well, an easier solution would be the silver standard. And then gold would be worth a lot more, sure, but at least silver would be the basis for things. A lot of people were kind of afraid of that, because what happens if all your currency basically just becomes worthless to some degree? That's what people were kind of worried about. So people wanted to keep the gold standard, and they fought for it. And yeah, and something that we don't really have today, but was very common back in this time. You have sides of the parties. So there would be conservative Republicans, there would be liberal Republicans, there would be conservative Democrats, there would be liberal Democrats. Today, that's not really much of a thing. Now, it's kind of formed again slowly, but it's not like it was. And the ideas of that were like, hey, you can have people that had differing views, but they had the same view, just differing views on that same view. That's kind of the idea. But now it's just like, oh, well, if you have a different view, you're in this party or this party, that kind of thing. But yeah, and a lot of people were going to go for the gold standard. This is a really a hotly contested presidential election. It's not one that's thought about as much, but it is very, very important. Um, because it was so long ago at this point, many people just don't think of it, which is unfortunate. But now we will get into the pictures. Above is a cartoon from the New York Journal, the 4th of August, 1896, showing the hand of Mark Hanna supporting the syndicate by a chain. The title was A Man of Mark. You can kind of see. Now, a lot of people were a little worried, as you could probably imagine. At the left here is the Republican National Convention on the 18th of June, 1896. I still think it's really cool that we have all these pictures of this. Like, it's crazy to think that there were this many people and things like that. Although one thing that makes me very sad whenever I see these pictures, the architecture, man. I miss old architecture. It's just much nicer in my opinion. It's just my opinion. Just my opinion. At the top here is William McKinley, the 25th President of the United States. Yeah, William McKinley, interesting president. Was he the best? No. But was he the worst? No. He's all right, you know? It's what you can say about most of the presidents. Were they the best? Nah. Were they the worst? Nah. They were all right. So, I have to view it here. The right here is a cartoon of William Jennings Bryan after his Cross of Gold speech, entitled The Sacrilegious Candidate. It carried the statement, "No man who drags in the dust the most sacred symbol of the Christian world is fit to be President of the United States." It appeared in Judge magazine on the 19th of September, 1896. Yeah, a lot of people, obviously, actually still today, of course, as well, but a lot of people were Christian at this time, of course. And, it very much upsets them that he did this because it's just like he's dragging the cross into this when it has no place. Now, was he maybe correct? Who can say? But the people at the time were very upset by it, which makes sense. At the far right is Marcus Alonso, or Mark Hanna. Marcus Alonso Hanna. Mark Hanna. Yeah. Not a character that's really talked about as much in American history, but does have a pretty important part to play. Just saying. At the left is the National Democratic Convention of 1900. Look at all these dang people, man. Just crazy. Crazy, crazy, crazy. Below is William Jennings Bryan addressing the convention. You can see Bryan there. Interesting, you can see the difference of the portrait and how he actually looked. We don't get that as much, but it's very interesting nonetheless. And at the right here is a campaign poster of Bryan. I miss these old campaign posters. They just look so nice. You can see all the little things in it that really are trying to paint a picture of what he's trying to say. It's one of the things that make him so great, But that's going to do it for this video. If you guys liked the video, leave a like. If you have any ways I can improve on these videos, leave a comment down below. I just appreciate your feedback. And as always, subscribe. It really does help out the channel. Thank you.